All right, guys, I want to talk to you about the single most overused and incorrectly used cue in lifting, and it's something you may well have been doing way more than you need to. It's driving the knees out. Now, this can be problematic for some people, okay? Let me start off by saying drive the knees out is best used as a corrective cue. In the same way that taking aspirin could help you in some scenarios, but it shouldn't be part of your diet. Knees out should not be part of your diet. It's not a staple. It's a corrective cue for some people, some of the time. And if you do it all the time, you might run into issues. So the idea of knees out is usually to help people not to cave their knees, okay? We want to encourage them to be able to control their hip rotation, control the stacking of their bones under them while they're lifting weights, and also control the orientation of their pelvis, because if your pelvis tips around, then your spine bends around, and that's not good under heaps of load. But to be able to squat deep, we need a degree of internal rotation, okay? If we cannot internally rotate the knees, then we run into problems, okay? It's not a well-functioning hip and lower back system. So think about something. If you're driving the knees out all the time, are you allowing internal rotation to happen? Or are you just looking for more and more and more external rotation? So for instance here, I can only squat to there, right? If I allow a little bit of internal rotation, I can suddenly squat deeper more comfortably with the same angle of my back. I'm not rounding my back to go from here to here. I'm just allowing a bit of hip rotation. So my issue that I ran into was back pain, which persisted because I was constantly driving my knees out. And in the process, I didn't realize, but I was taking out some of the glute muscles that I needed and the hip muscles to drive through the floor and help me lift the weight, okay? So I was actually preventing myself from gaining strength and depth in my lifts and putting myself in a painful scenario. So I'm going to explain how you would set up for something like a sumo deadlift. And if you look at a sumo, the reason I use this is because it's similar to a squat. Imagine that I'm doing a low bar squat or a powerlifting squat. I've got the weight on my back here, okay? Sumo deadlift is very similar. So I'm not going to stubbornly drive my knees out, because if I'm already driving them out and taking up all that effort just to hold them there, what's going to happen when I try and lift a heavy weight that's going to require even more effort? Well, they're naturally going to cave in, okay? It's just not an efficient position for me to hold. Second off, I'm not lifting weights out here. I'm not using a cable machine pulling this way. No one's pushing in on my knees, so why am I driving out? Why don't I just hold them neutral and drive in the direction of my bones through the floor to help myself lift the weight? Doesn't that make more sense? So, as I set up for my sumo, I'm going to find neutral by making sure that I have a bit of wiggle room. Can I come in a bit? Yes. Can I go out a bit? Yes. Can I roughly go in and out equally from where I am? Yes. So I'm in neutral. From here, I make sure that I'm balanced in my feet, that I feel strong in my feet, that I feel like my pelvis is neutral and stacked under my body. And then I'm going to lift, driving through the floor. Going to come back down, and you'll notice that the whole way down, I have the feeling of my bones being stacked. From front on, it might look like this, but if you look from side on, you would see more of a stack, okay, through here. And that's with me allowing some internal rotation. So don't overuse the knees out cue. If you're a coach, if you're a lifter, don't just willy-nilly listen to your coach and ignore what you're feeling in your body like I did, because you could wind up in a bad place. Listen to your body. Ask questions of your coaches to understand why you're doing a cue, and bear in mind that the goal should always be to complete the task in the way that feels strongest for your body and is most safe for your body. Beyond that, have no attachment to any particular cue. Just have an attachment to feeling good and continuing to train or practice. Cheers, guys.